Welcome to Smart Branding, a podcast dedicated to branding, naming, and domain names. I'm Tatiana Bonneau, and with my guests, we try to help you create and grow strong, memorable, and meaningful brands online. I believe time is one of our most precious assets, and so I want to thank you in advance if you decide to spend the next 30 minutes with us. I promise to do my best to make those worth it. Let's go. So my guest today is Darwin Liu. He's the founder and CEO behind Ep.85, a dynamic team of growth engineers and digital storytellers. Hi, and welcome to our podcast, Darwin.
Hey, Tatiana, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Good. Looking forward to our chat. So my classic first question is start with some background. Give me a bit of an idea of who you are and how did you get to do what you do?
Yeah, so I graduated college in 2008. And as any college student, I didn't know what the hell to do with my life. I didn't, my degree was more, it's economics, but I actually partied much of my college career. With that said, right out of college, I Googled how to get rich online, and I sort of left my fate, left my fate to Google, right? As much as us do. First result that came up was online marketing. So that was sort of where I started in 2008. Googled it. Lived in my mom's basement for about 2 years. Learned how to code websites. Learned how to market. With that said, when I first started, it was sort of the wild, wild west for Facebook and Google. Google was already sort of established, but it was still a little bit easier to do more gray hat / black hat things, right? So when starting out, what I sold were scams. I'm not gonna lie. I sold free teeth whitening scams, free, get an iPad, enter your email, right? These are sort of CPA sort of affiliate type offers that you could do back in the day. It's way harder now, by the way. However, with that said, while I was doing it, we were able to sort of quote hack Facebook, right? We're able to do a script first where they had to invite all their friends. Then I would get paid. Next step would be to enter their email, and I would get paid for the emails. So with that said, if you can sort of picture it, someone would invite all of their friends with a click of a button. A couple of those friends would put in their email, and then it would cascade down. And I was making somewhere around $300 to $600 per day, thinking I struck it rich, telling my parents that, hey, I told you so. Everything is great, I'm well established now. I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm going to move out soon. With that said, in about 2 months, Facebook caught on, canceled. I owed about 30 grand on my credit card.
Oops, man.
Yeah. Exactly. Then I had to eat my words, right? By that point, I tried everything, and I sort of lost my sense of money because I thought I was rich. So tried everything in the world, tried more marketing techniques, owed about 30 grand on my credit card, couldn't pay anything. At that point, it was like, all right, well, I had to sort of, the biggest fear I think any entrepreneur has is sort of admitting failure, right? And at that point, I truly failed. So I had to tell all my friends, I had to tell my parents. They were just I told you so, you should have gotten a job a long time ago, blah, 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 blah. With that said, though, I saw it more as sort of, whatever we were doing was a means to an end and not the end itself, right? And I wasn't going to quit. So I basically got a marketing job, entry level at a company, at an agency. And, I didn't have a degree. I didn't have anything. However, with all the experience that I had, I was able to get a job doing this, right? Long story short, I built up my network over about 5 years and then really just branched off on my own afterwards. So now we have X agency. I don't even know how long I've been doing this for. Somewhere around 5 years-ish right now. We're in the 85,000. We've grown to 20 plus employees. We're doing pretty well, I'd say.
I love that. I love that you start with like really the kind of a kid's dream and everybody thinking, like, I have 4 kids. And oftentimes I'm like, I'm just going to go in the line and be a gamer and the people are going to pay me for whatever. And it's so... Well, you've been there, you've done that. So I guess I think when you started with, I graduated college in 2008. I was like, I had my second kid in 2009. I'm old.
No, you don't look that old. You really don't. You look younger than me, actually, Tatiana.
Yeah. Trust him, people like you. You're not going to see the video, but yeah.
Wow, I'm impressed.
No, but yeah. So I love the way that you're not, because you see all of those profiles and things like on LinkedIn and Twitter and people telling those stories
how they always got it together, and it was always like I always knew what I'm doing, and And I love the fact that you went on. Okay, well, I tried that, and it was a bit nonsensical, and it worked for a bit, and then it failed, and you learn from failures. And I think it's not. It's something that we don't talk about enough as entrepreneurs. It's the importance of failures in what we do.
And you bring up an amazing point, right? And a lot nowadays, the new generation of kids, they don't want a job. They just want to get rich, nice and quick,
yes.
Right? And all they see, and the reason why they want to jump into it is because every single social media feed that they see is, kids in private jets and luxury yachts and all this stuff. And all they see is success. And that's all they're striving towards. What they don't understand is that there is always failure. And that is part of this whole journey. Once failure hits, though, they never see it. All they see is the success side of all these successful folks without seeing all the failures that they've gone through to actually get there. When the first failure hits, they think they failed already and they quit, So
exactly.
Yeah. So it's definitely important.
Yeah.
Failure is definitely super important in this whole process that we call entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. I think if you're scared of failing, and I'm not saying that as a bad thing, go and get the job. It's just something that's much calmer and safer, I guess, if you like, because in a way you're kind of working for someone who is going to be responsible for their failures and therefore is responsible for you, but you don't have that on your back, at least. Like, if
I agree on the calmer side. Safer, I'd say probably not, right? Because now
true.
Yeah.
I guess, I remember when I started in IT some ages ago, and which is actually something you still get, like when you're working for yourself, you have, because I change countries, try to do it often, not as often as I like with the kids. It's not that easy, but like when you get to a new country and you say to the authorities, and you try doing your paperwork and everything, it's like, I'm an entrepreneur, and they're like, oh, Jesus. And it's like, I'm making more money than anybody on a, average job here. Like, what's your problem?
Yep, agreed. And I think it really comes down to, I guess the majority of folks not understanding what we're doing. And I feel like it's harder for us to, really get loans and all that stuff too. So I don't know why they make it so difficult. But yes, I agree with you.
I guess it's an opportunity for someone to sort that out. Let's talk about X Agency. Why X Agency? What's with the name?
Well, that sort of goes back to your thing about smart branding and domains, right? When I started X Agency, I've already had experience buying websites and domains, so I understood the power of it, And to sort of explain how we got the X Agency, it really came down to having a nice brandable name that I could afford. Okay, so to start off, when I was working at my agency, I had side clients as well. With that said, my side clients, when I worked at the agency, I only worked on paid search when I first started, okay? And when I was doing side clients, I was really good at paid search. So I bought a domain called SEM Consultants, and SEM stands for Search Engine Marketing. That was cheap. That was $100. With that, I was able to really get side clients on Upwork through referrals while I was working at the agency. And they knew that I was an expert in SEM because that's what I did. When I left my company to start my own full service agency, I realized I couldn't use SEM anymore, and I couldn't use the term consultants because it makes me seem smaller than I am, right? So I just looked for, I literally just scraped and crawled and looked for any domain I could find that I could afford, and X Agency was one of them, and I sort of built it around that. X Agency itself was $5,000, but it was brandable. It wasn't like a 3-word domain where it's like internet marketing experts or something like that, So that's how X Agency came about.
Was that was way before X, like the Twitter rebranded Elon Musk, wasn't it?
Yes, way before.
Yeah. I think a lot of people like you are like, for Christ's sake, now everything with X.
Yep, I think his rebranding definitely helps us out a little bit. The fact that we say X Agency.
It does. It does. I can see definitely with that, all of X whatever names getting popular. Yeah, it's cool. No, I like it as a like the letter. I guess it's like a X like a place on the map, but as an unknown as well. It has a lot of meanings you can put and play with.
Yeah, and our tagline that we sort of kind of rebranded to is "We solve for X," basically. So.
Very cool. So what do you do? Tell me a bit more about what you do in X Agency.
Yes. So X Agency is a full service performance agency, right? We do online marketing or digital marketing, email, Google. I mean, if you want to just sort of picture it, it's sort of you going on Google, searching for your favorite apparel, you clicking on it, and then getting bombarded with annoying ads and emails about that same product. That's basically what we do as a company. What we do differently as a company compared to, say, the tens of thousands of other agencies, I'm just throwing a number out there because there's a lot, right? is sort of, I guess, our approach to how we do it. When I was working the old agency, I realized that there was a lot of things wrong with the model, which is everything's about, cost savings and automated bidding, right? What they ended up doing was hiring less folks, buying more expensive tools for automated reports and bidding, and it ends up being less of a marketing company, more of a sort of reporting company. Their folks didn't really know what they were doing, and we saw gains of say 10 to 12% growth for our clients year over year. However, I saw that model and I was like, all right, well, this doesn't make us better, doesn't separate us. We're part of the whole 80% of the other companies out there. How do we actually become better, right? So I always take a contrarian approach to life and also the company itself. That's sort of one of our values. If everyone is doing one thing, you can't expect to be better if you're doing the same exact thing. So for us over here, right, sure, we do prioritize and understand deep knowledge. We read the same blogs that other digital marketers do. We follow the same best practices, right? However, with that said, once we understand it and once we know how to use it, we run our tests and we sort of hack the algorithm. So we're performance based. Everything we do is performance marketing, performance branding, however you want to call it. When we hack the system and we always try to find things that are different than our other sort of competitors, we end up, a lot of our clients have grown 30. Usually our clients grow at the minimum 30% without an increase in spend. But we've had tons of clients grow 200 to 300% in revenue without huge increases in spend, right? A lot of our companies have gone on to being sold to PE groups who buy them up because they've grown so much. We have a recent client that we just did a case study and a documentary on where within the first year, we grew them from 50 million to 100 million with an increase of 20% in spend only. So we doubled their revenue with about 20% increase in spend. That never happens. Most agencies, 80% of them, to double your revenue, they need to quadruple their spend, drop their return on investment, and it's not scalable. It's not incremental profitability, right? We focus on that. We focus on the true metrics, which is revenue and ROI for the company. We don't focus on digital marketing metrics like impressions, clicks, and blah, blah, blah.
Can you do that with any company? Like, can any company come to you for your services, or is there some specific size, location, industry?
Great question, Tatiana. So usually on my side, for us, it's usually mid-enterprise level clients, right? So anywhere from, say, our client size, usually their revenues, I'm trying to think of the minimum, somewhere around 3 million to 500 million is sort of our primary target. With that said, though, we basically take on clients that can afford us, right? Because there are startups that have VC funding that can actually come and pay for us, right? However, there are companies that can't afford us, and we try to stay away from those. When I first started the company, the majority of agencies take the same track. They start small, they go for smaller local businesses, and then they move on, and then they try to move on to the big ones. We sort of cut that out, and we've just moved on to sort of the middle level, mid-enterprise level clients. With that said, though, I have a bunch of small business owners who always hit me up and ask for, hey, do you guys do service for us, blah, blah, blah. I normally say no. However, I always do give free advice because, again, for us, it doesn't make sense to charge a small a small company $5,000 for one service when I have all these write-ups where I can just send it over to them and say, hey, as a small company, these are the things that you should do. That is the most cost effective for you.
Cool. That's cool. And in terms of geography, you can work with anyone, I guess, at some point.
We have our clients span the globe. So we have clients in Australia, UK, Germany, not You know what? I think we have one client in China. So yes, we have, folks in Ukraine, nothing in Russia, but yeah, I'd say international.
Cool. And what would you say are some like crazy do's and don'ts in terms of, like I can do that with domains easily, like when people come to, or the mistakes people make most often when it comes to domains. So in your industry, what is that people like you would, like you're sick of repeating, just why are you doing that?
Yeah. So what I would say is, especially for your audience, the solopreneurs and the people who are starting out, is that they think that to start they have to pay to play. There's so many free opportunities out there that if they set it up, they can get free marketing traffic that you don't have to pay for. So for example, making sure you Google My Business, your Bing My Business, your Facebook page is set up for either services or products, getting your free listing set up if you're selling stuff, getting your free Facebook shop set up if you're selling stuff, right? So there are a lot more free places that if you set it up, free traffic will come. You don't have to pay an arm and a leg for. And I would always start with those before starting to pay for Facebook or Google traffic.
What are your thoughts on we kind of touched on domains when we just spoke about your own company domain name. What are your thoughts like with your clients on domain names and domain name strategy?
Oh, domain names 100% matter, right? Not only for SEO value, but for branding value. So a lot of times, usually our clients already have a brandable domain name. However, I do remember one time where I did have a client that didn't have a brandable domain name, and we did have them buy a brandable domain name. It was maybe somewhere around 15 grand. And at the end of the day, it took somewhere around 3 to 4 months to get them back to where they were. But afterwards, they did grow, and now they are more brandable, and they can, they're more out there now because of a brandable domain name. So I'd say, one, domain names are super important. Two, paying the fixed costs of, say, 5 to 30 grand for a domain, which is normally what I recommend for a domain, depending on what size company they are. That, let's just say it's 30 grand. That 30 grand is way more worth it in the long run because, one, increases conversion rate. Two, you get more SEO value. That fixed cost up front pays in dividends later on in a couple of years.
That's something that, like, I haven't just got, I guess, around to have the time to think about, and it's not easily doable. But that's what you just said about, like, people look at that as, 30K is a huge amount of money to spend on a domain name. But then the same people would end up putting money in the bin over, let's say, 1 year to buy traffic, to, print advertising, to whatever, to put a domain name that people can't remember and can't refer to or misspell. And like this, it's very hard because you can't track that to quantify it so that they see they're actually losing more money on that than they would, if they get the name. And I think you said you've done some economic education. I studied for an accountant and never, I'm actually bad at it. But one thing that's left from there is a quote that was, people spend too much time thinking of the cost of doing something. They should think about the cost of not doing it. And that's,
That is a great quote, by the way. Yes, and exactly. And I wish I knew that quote so I can spew it more. I'm going to steal that from you, by the way. Yes, I mean, think about it, right? Our clients are easily willing to spend 30 grand a week on marketing, but they won't spend 30 grand on a domain. And if you want to think about it, that 30 grand on marketing, if all we did was spend it on the domain itself, and if all it did was increase our conversion rates by 1 to 2%, every single marketing dollar that we are spending in the future is literally way more efficient, and it is worth way more in the long run, but they don't see that. So we always put, we're a numbers driven company, right? Everything we do is based on numbers. Even myself personally, I measure my life in numbers, my productivity, everything is measured in numbers. So we have this on a spreadsheet where we'll say, hey guys, just by buying this domain, increasing 1% conversion rate will increase your revenue by this much in millions, which is why you should be doing something like this.
Absolutely. Yeah. Philip Kotler, that was who said the quote. I have to mention it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, just so it wasn't me, but yeah, I remember it. Cool. How do you see artificial intelligence affecting what you do?
Yeah, the thing is, artificial intelligence has been sort of on the forefront in terms of what we do for a while now. And even when, Google and Facebook and stuff started rolling out automated bidding, I hear a bunch of my agency friends and marketing friends on the forums, everyone's crying and being scared and complaining and saying, hey, we're going to lose our jobs to automated bidding and things like that, right? With that said, though, again, these AI tools are still man-made. And if it is man-made, man controls it. So for us, right, we need to shift our thinking into less being doers, but more strategic thinkers. And that's sort of where we're at. And we truly, our goal is to understand the algorithms, understand how they work and run tests to see how they work. Once we do, we pull the levers to sort of hack the system, right? So if you want to sort of picture it, someone who has a mentality that AI does everything for you is just going to put some settings on and let it run and let it go forever. For us, we know that we control the AI. So an example would be in Google Ads, what we do is we realize that, the way Google and all these sort of marketing channels work is the way AI works is trying to make sure that, let's just talk about Google. If the AI was not working for them, for marketing, what we would end up doing as a client would be we would move over to Bing and Facebook. So they want to make sure that everything that they're running for us is making money. So it's an 80-20 rule. What they do is they'll show 20% of the products for 80% of your spend because they know that those 20% of products make money. Once we've understood that, we sort of force Google to spend on the other 80% of the products through sort of these little hacks that we do by breaking things out and forcing these campaigns to actually run campaigns and products and sort of keywords that Google would never show if we actually didn't do it the way we did. By doing that, we're able to, and that's sort of our sort of, one big thing, right? Well, when we do something like that, we're able to cut CPCs in half. We're able to basically show, I'd say, double our clicks for the same spend because we cut CPCs in half by doing these little hacks. And doing something like that, we're able to almost double revenue, right? So again, back to your question really is AI is here. However, humans are still more important and we still need to be the ones pulling the levers. So we need to switch it. If you still want your job, just learn how to pivot from thinking like a doer and more like a strategic thinker.
Absolutely. It's funny how people think, a lot of people, and therefore a lot of companies, I guess, because it comes down to people, think about Google search engines, social media. It's like it's running around trying to follow that algorithm and the other algorithm, and I should do this, and they told me to do that. And I've had chats with guests on the podcast that work in different industries, but I guess a majority of them that have touch points with social media marketing, SEO. The thing that repeats there, which I find interesting, is exactly what you just said, that you have to not forget that you are actually in control and ultimately you're working with people and for people. And that's just always going to be the case.
Yep, agreed.
Cool. Last question, I think. What are you up to now that's kind of cool and exciting and you're looking forward to?
Yeah, so I have a bunch of things going on. Let's see. So I have another business called AmericanBully.com.
Really?
Yes.
What's that about?
So funny story for you is that this goes back to the domain branding piece, and I have a couple more stuff on that too, which was I was searching, I saw these really big looking dogs that were basically pit bulls, but like 2 times its size and humongous.
I know them. I'm kind of a dog enthusiast. Yeah, I know.
Yes. Okay. Anyways, I didn't know that they were American bullies while doing the research, right? However, when I was doing research, I realized that, hey, it's actually a different breed. It's called American Bully. And then because I'm an internet marketer, I sort of looked at the search volume, and it was more searches on the quote American Bully than knives, right? I was just like, whoa, and these dogs are somewhere around $5,000 to $30,000 a piece. So I was like, wow, these owners have a ton of money and they're willing to spend on their dogs. So, I looked it up. I was like, okay, well, the domain is someone already has it. do I want to buy it, right? And usually back to the domain purchasing piece, there always is a public price, and it was somewhere around 15 or 20 grand. However, you can always negotiate that down. So I got the domain for somewhere around 10 grand. Okay. So got the domain. Funny thing is I saw that the trademark itself was expiring. So I stuck on top of it. So now I own the trademark to American Bully, the domain to American Bully, and we sell clothing to bully breed dogs. So that's one business I have going on. Another funny story for you is I had a domain called Small Business Marketing that I paid 30 grand for. With that said, though, and I always left it as 1 year renewals to go on and just let it run, right? And I have so many things going on in my email, and I always thought that it would just get renewed. With that said, though, my credit card expired, and I didn't realize.
No, oh Jesus!
That was a 30 grand mistake, Tatiana. I literally lost it, and there was freaking nothing I can do. So now, as a pro tip for people who do have expensive domains, please pay for the 10-year plus. Please pay for the domain protection. It will save you dividends in the long run. Okay.
Yeah, that's no. I do say that. I do have blogs, like I do say to people, just take it seriously. I do have like companies where like the owner would have like the trademark, the name, like everything goes around the domain name. They would have like, I know, the IT guy who they don't even know register the name to their own personal account, and then they like bugger off somewhere, or they're annoyed, or they just forget. It's just like, it's crazy.
It is crazy, right? And it is a real thing. Like it is. So just make sure you protect it, because and I'd say for the most part, domains, I'd say from my experience, don't really drop in value versus physical real estate. It is a great market to park your money. People make a crap ton of money on it, so very important. I still buy domains when I can. I look for expired domains that I can pick up that already have link juice, right? Another thing that I'm also doing right now is also branching into real estate, just because whatever we're doing, Tatiana, we still need our mouths, our arms and legs. And if I lost those right now, it's sort of my business is gone. It's still not passive. So I'm trying to move everything I make into passive income so my money can work for me and I don't have to work so hard.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, that's been an absolute pleasure. And I think there's like a lot of things people can learn from listening to that. So thank you. Thanks a lot. We'll include links to where people can reach you in the comments for the podcast.
No, thank you so much for having me, Tatiana. This was super fun.
Thank you for joining us in this episode of Smart Branding Podcast. Feel free to visit smartbranding.com for more information and reach out if you have any suggestions, questions, ideas, or just want to learn more about how a good domain name strategy can help you build a strong and successful brand. See you next time.